WNN. Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton. The Health and Wealth Radio Network. 1470 AM and 95.3 FM. The Health and Wealth Radio Network. Don't miss the Save a Lot Nutrition Hour with Al Foreman and Janet Cimarelli. WNN.
If you've decided to get back to feeling good again like you used to feel, then you're invited to tune in to the Dr. Bob Martin Show. Hi, I'm Dr. Bob, at your service Sunday mornings at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
People are learning in a classroom how money is made from home at Online Trading Academy. Just how much?
$100, $200, $300. They were able to get to $500 a day in a little over 8 months. $500 a day, folks, is $10,000 a month.
Get classroom instruction on how money can be made from home and how risk is limited. Learn stocks, options, futures, forex. Learn step-by-step from professional traders at Online Trading Academy.
Everyone starts off very small baby steps. You know, if you can't average $100 a day, there's no way you're going to be able to make $300 a day or $3,000 a day in the markets.
Thousands have learned how money can be made from home with limited risk at Online Trading Academy. Attend a free half-day class to see how it works in Broward and Palm Beach. Online Trading Academy. Call now. 561-674-9800. 561-674-9800. That's 561-674-9800.
Talk health. Talk wealth. Talk politics. Talk 1470 and 95.3 FM. WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
This is Tanoa Lynn Poirier, and I want to welcome you to Comm-Unity Conversations on WNN 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. This show is about you. I want to hear your trials and triumphs, challenges and victories, and how you overcome obstacles every day in our dynamic industry. All callers are welcome to join Community Conversations. This is where we'll discuss all things in common. We'll discuss managers, directors, vendors, and owners. Let's elevate the conversation. Raise the bar. Start here, now. Welcome to Community Conversations with Tanoa. I'm your host, Tanoa Lynn Poirier. Welcome to Friday, and it's the first day of autumn. So welcome to autumn, except not in Florida. It's still full-on summer here. I just want to continue to extend my prayers to all of those who are experiencing all of these weather disasters. It's heartbreaking, the images that we see. We are ourselves in Florida recovering from Hurricane Irma. And today's show is just me. I'm flying solo. So you got me for the whole, 28 minutes. You may call and join if you'd like. It is 888-565-1470. Call the station, 1-888-565-1470. 561 is a local extension. So we're going to talk about some hot topics today. I want to thank my sponsor, Trusted Construction, and I want to say to Peter and his team that it makes all the difference to have someone that you can count on when you have experienced something that we have just experienced with Hurricane Irma. Having a contractor that you can count on and call, that you've developed a relationship with, that you know that they're going to show up on time, that they're licensed and insured and capable and do a good job of cleaning up after themselves. This kind of contractor makes me look like a superstar. So, Peter, to you and your team, thank you. Trusted Construction can help you with anything you can dream of. If you have some repairs that need to be done, or you want something that you've been dreaming of that you want in your new home or your community, you can contact them at 561-582-5758. So today's show is about hot topics. I'm calling it 5 at 5. And the first topic is something that makes me go, The Florida legislature every year, and I'm sure it happens in other places, passes laws, updates statutes that relate to community association or common interest communities, which is basically the focus of this show. As you know, in Florida, there are over 47,000 community associations, and there are nearly 350,000 nationwide. So this is not a small industry that we're talking about. This year in Florida, they passed a rule that limits the terms for board members who serve staggered 2-year terms. I don't want to get in the weeds too much, but staggered 2-year terms in condominiums are really helpful because there's always somebody on the board who has served the prior term. They know what has happened. They know what resolutions have been passed. They know what problems are in the community. If you turn over a new board every year, you don't have that continuity of knowledge and background, and some that have been on the board for a long time have virtually an encyclopedic knowledge of what's gone on in the community. So the fact that term limits are now mandated by Florida is a little bit of a head scratcher for me. To further complicate the management of this new law is that it only relates to staggered 2-year terms and does not apply apparently to board members who serve 1-year terms. So presumably they could serve 1-year terms in perpetuity. And here's my problem with mandated term limits. Getting people to volunteer for community association positions, board members, committee members, whether it's a standing committee or an ad hoc committee, is like pulling hen's teeth, right? I don't think hens have teeth. So you get to how difficult this could be. Members who are interested in serving on boards, albeit there can be some overreach and there are laws to manage that, are the ones who are interested in being involved in their community. They put in hours and hours of their time, their personal time, to make the place they live better. I wrote a blog earlier this year, and it was a hot topic, and it was term limits for board members. You can find all of my blogs on Twitter at Hello Tanoa. There's a link to my website, which is hellotanoa.com, and there's a virtual library of documents that you can see that relate to community associations, this being one of them. My feeling, and this is my personal feeling, and since it's Community Conversations with Tanoa, you're getting my opinion, is that term limits happen at the ballot box. So if the Florida legislature is saying, with some caveats, and I'm going to read to you exactly what they have passed, you cannot serve more than 4 consecutive terms. It is not retroactive. It is forward compliant, if you will, unless no one else runs, or what is the language, or a supermajority of 2/3 of the entire voting interest wants you to run. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. But I hope that we're going to revisit this in the next session, which will be July of next year, because there was also some confusion about whether it was retroactive. Some lawyers actually told communities that was retroactive, and so people were no longer going to run for the board. And then we learned that it was actually sort of forward restrictive or limiting, and so they presumably can serve over the next 8 years. That's problematic for a couple of reasons. If we don't have anyone who wants to run, they likely will not put their hat in the ring to run. Then we'll get to the place where they're left on the board, presumably, and now how have we not violated the rule? Do you see where I'm going here? It's really confusing, and that's why I continue to scratch my head over this one. Again, in my opinion, term limiting happens at the ballot box. If you are unhappy with anybody in authority with whom you vote for, you go to the ballot box, either in the macro scheme, we're not going to go there, or in your community association, and say, I'm sorry, but we just don't feel that you're doing the best for the community, and we are going to not vote you in this time. And certainly that happens, guess what? Term limited, right? If anybody has a different opinion about this, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Or you can just, again, reach out to me on social media and pose a question or disagree with me. Certainly people do that with great regularity about things I say. I don't take offense. I love all sides. So if you have something that you disagree with me, I would love to hear about it. Maybe I'll have you on the show and we'll talk about why you disagree with me. That might be fun. One of the things that is also a hot topic, and not just in Florida, but around the country, is this disaster created by weather events. So if you imagine the kind of work that goes into preparing a property or a series of properties for a property management company like ours, and we have a company, it's called Poye Enterprises. We manage concierge clients. Those are high-end residential clients. We manage community associations, condos, and HOAs. So we have to prepare all of those properties for pending storms. So if you imagine from our perspective, we're thinking about cash on hand. Are we liquid relative to needing to pay vendors who come on property? Can we write a check as opposed to having some funds in a money market or investment accounts before the storm? That's something we have to prepare for. Do we have our insurance documents? Have we lined up all of the contractors for post-storm or post-disaster recovery? Have we developed relationships with those people? Have we gotten ourselves in line for people who can help us dry out in the event of a flood? If a home or a condominium has some windstorm damage, how do we handle the windows? Who is responsible for that? What are the deductibles? Are we prepared to meet those deductibles? How do we communicate to the owners that they have to have 3 days worth of food, that they should have a car charger, because in the event that your property loses electricity, how are you going to charge your cell phone? So all of these kinds of tips we give to our staff, making sure that they have got their personal plan in place. And then we talk to the owners about if you live on a barrier island, and in Florida, that means that you are close to the ocean, and it typically takes a bridge to get to your property. You have to evacuate. And I have to tell you that there were many people who elected to stay. My own family was very worried about Irma coming because all the news reports really forecast it to be a terrible storm. We got blessed. Feels like a gift. Maria went by us. Horrible what's happened in Puerto Rico, but it is something that we were also preparing for. So we have to, as managers, put all of those things in place while we're thinking about our own personal properties and those of the owners, because once you've worked on a property for a period of time, pardon me, these people become very familiar to you. You begin to care about them. You know their families, their children, their grandchildren, their birthdays, their graduations. And so without crossing any professional red lines, you actually begin to care about these people, and you need to make them safe. I had some people who elected not to evacuate, and I said very clearly to them that if you elect to stay, please write on your arm in permanent ink the name of your next of kin, your social security number, and the phone number of whom I should reach out to in the event that you don't survive. That sounds really harsh, I'm sure. And it sounded harsh to them, and it was kind of a wake-up call. Some also elected to stay, but I have to tell you that it did get some people's attention, and they went to a safer place or a shelter. Those who elected to stay took a chance. They did not take my advice in writing the next of kin on their arm, but they did get the message, and I suspect that next time they'll think more of it. So when we talk about preparing for disasters, getting all of the things in place, all of the contractors lined up, because we know we're going to have some problems at the end, you can never anticipate what you're going to find. Something as small as a gutter ripping off, the wind getting underneath the flashing, which is a part of the roof, and lifting the roof and causing damage inside a condominium building. If it's on the top floor, then you're going to experience sort of a downward floor problem. These storms also create tornadoes. So although you don't get the windstorm and we didn't get the eye of the storm, it creates a lot of tornadoes. And everyone who lived here and everyone who lives in a disaster-prone zone gets all of these alarms on their phone. It's terribly scary, but literally 1 minute you are in a closet and the next minute you can see the sky from your kitchen. Those are the kinds of things that happen. And people need help and compassion and direction. Because when you are feeling overwhelmed, you need somebody who has a calm voice, a calm hand, and a plan. So once our plan is in place, we go back to our own homes or we evacuate and we take care of our families. And then when you come back, the thing that perhaps other people don't consider is if someone or many homes have been damaged in a storm, what is the likelihood that they're going to be able to meet their financial obligations, pay their deductibles for their damaged property, and pay their maintenance due in a community association? So we have to figure out how we manage if there's a hiccup in that, revenue stream. I just got a note that I'm going to have to take a break. But I will see you in 2. See you back on the other side. What is on everyone's mind these days when they think of starting a project in their home or community? Where can I find a qualified, certified, and licensed contractor I can trust? Allow me to introduce you to Trusted Construction. They have provided expert construction and roofing services in South Florida since 2009. Trusted Construction has earned a reputation for superior, consistent, dependable service. Trusted Construction will guide you from project conception to completion. Call 561-582-5758. Tell them Tanoa sent you. Hello, listeners. It's Tanoa Lynn from Community Conversations. Did you know I authored a book called 365 Tips for Community Association Managers, Property Managers, and Property Owners? Yep, I did. The book is filled with little, bite-sized morsels that may help anyone working and living in any community. From working with difficult people to building consensus for big projects. There is something in it for everyone. 365 Tips is available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can also go online to hellotanoa.com. That's hello, Tanoa.com. Welcome back. This is Tanoa Lynn Poirier with Community Conversations. And I want to remind you that this show is about you. If you'd like to join the show, you can call us at 888-565-1470. Let's get back to the show. Hello, welcome back. You're listening to Community Conversations with Tanoa. I'm your host, Tanoa Lynn Poirier. And before the break, we were talking about disaster preparedness and recovery. I just want to, before I move on to the next few topics, and it always goes too fast, so I appreciate you listening to me droning on. Hiring licensed contractors post-storm, it's really important. Out of the woodwork come all sorts of people who make all sorts of promises, and they want money up front, and they are not qualified. It is actually illegal in the state of Florida, and I suspect in many other places. It can be a felony, depending on how many times this person has provided unlicensed contracting activities. So please, managers in particular, homeowners specifically, do not hire anybody unless you can prove that they're licensed and insured. There are many people who do the job properly, who are licensed and insured. That's who you should hire. One of my other topics, and I'm going to move on from that because I think we have beat that one to death, is how we can get real estate agents or realtors to partner with community association managers and associations when they're in the sales process. And this is a hot topic because often I find people who move from different places where they really were the king and queen of the castle, and they move to a common interest community with all the rules and regulations. They neglect to read the fine print, if you will, and then they end up really realizing that they cannot paint their house the color they want. They cannot plant the tree that they want, and they cannot hire a contractor to come and make their place a palace without an application, board approval, limitations relative to size and scope, and they cannot change the outside of their unit if they live in a condominium. It comes as a shock to them and kind of an unwelcome news. So one of the hot topics for me is partnering with real estate agents or realtors to get them to understand that we have to communicate during the sale, before the application process and or approval interview, if your community has such a thing, so that they don't sit there at the interview and hear this list of things that they are no longer able to do and are really put off by the experience. And then, unfortunately, the manager gets them and they have to explain that, no, I'm sorry, you cannot do that. No, I'm afraid that's not allowed in this community. No, you should have been told about that. I had an amazing experience recently where a couple whom I'm hoping you'll meet did it right. They came into the office with their sellers and said, we want to know exactly what it is we need to do to facilitate this transaction. Gold star, love them, can't wait to work with them again. It was amazing because they did exactly what I'm advocating here. They asked the right questions. They got the paperwork up front. They wanted to make sure that if they were the selling agent, in other words, they were the ones to find the buyer, that they were going to be equipped to help this person transition if they had never lived in a condominium before. And it would make everyone's life easier. We've got to bridge that gap somehow, and I am interested in anybody who can help me figure out how we do that. Maybe we talk to real estate companies, maybe we offer classes, I don't know, but that really is a hot topic, and it really is a problem because people's experience in those communities is diminished because they were misled either on purpose or by accident. And I've got to move on because the clock is against me. One of the other hot topics in the industry, and there are some folks all over the country trying to address this, and it is how we train and lead the next generation of community managers or property managers. Some people don't like me to use those terms interchangeably, but there are a lot of people who are either burning out, changing careers, or retiring out. And they are not building fewer communities, they're building more communities. So there's going to be more of a need for experienced, trained, prepared community managers in the industry. One of the things I talked about in a previous show was perhaps there should be some post-licensing education. Once you get your license and you start working, that you are required to, or you can voluntarily come back and take a series of classes that gives you things like budget basics and facilities management and how to perform an inspection and dealing with difficult people, helping people to take advantage of their community in terms of their amenities, etc. I think something like that needs to happen because the reputation of managers is not getting better. I'm afraid it's getting worse because I think that we are not preparing people to take on this enormous responsibility. There's a great deal of stress. There's a great deal of financial responsibility. And the manager has to make 1,000 correct decisions a day. The more confidence you have, the better you're able to do it. The more success you have, the more confidence you're going to have. And my last topic, because I'm running out of time, this is something that there was a property managers conference recently. And one of the topics was, how do we get people to use their amenities? And if they don't use their amenities, then what good are they? And what I mean by amenities, for those who are not in the industry, it's the pool and the tennis courts and the shuffleboard courts that I'm not sure people are using anymore, skateboard ramps, those sorts of things. Perhaps one of the things we could do is to build events around these community amenities, or have them change their documents so that they change those amenities into something else. What's happening in Florida now is, as people age in over 55 communities, they're going from having all tennis courts to having something called pickleball, which you can look up on your own, but it is a less strenuous, less intensive form of tennis, if you will. Maybe we change the shuffleboard court into something else. You let your imagination be your guide. But if people move into these communities and these amenities are something that are there's an obligation by the association to maintain them, then we should offer amenities that they're going to use. Gyms, fitness centers. Some people go so far as to have nail salons and hair salons on property. As people age in place, perhaps you could turn some of those amenities or those buildings into a health clinic on site. Cafes. Your imagination is boundless. So as managers, help your boards and your members realize the best they can have in their associations. They're sort of counting on us to help them with those ideas, not just cleaning up the messes and telling them what they did wrong and giving them violation letters. They're counting on us to be their guide. And I think that we can do that. So these 5 hot topics, and I'm just going to go through them if I can remember. First, it was board member term limits. Not a fan. Not going to lie. Don't like it. I think there's a remedy for that already. Disaster preparedness and disaster recovery. Hire vendors that you know. Develop those relationships early. Make sure you have cash on hand. Check your policies and make sure that you have the amount for the deductibles in place before you have a problem. And then post-recovery, use only licensed contractors, people you know that you've had experience with. Realtors and community managers or property managers, we have to bridge that gap because it will make a better experience for the homeowner, making a happier homeowner, and actually making you a better manager. And the last one was the use of amenities in communities. If they're not used, what good are they? So you can use them in your marketing materials for the community. You can sell them as something that is great for the community, but if no one's using them, how great are they? How can we change those amenities into something that people will actually use? So I hope that you have enjoyed some of this, that some of it provokes some thoughts, maybe make you think. If you disagree with any of that, I'd love to hear from you. You can contact me at Hello Tanoa on Twitter or hellotanoa.com. You can contact me through there. Send me a little note. Let's talk about it. Maybe I'll have you on this show. Thank you to my sponsor, Trusted Construction. You need them. 561-582-5758. Thanks for listening. Have a great Friday. Happy fall. I will see you next time. It's going to be a great show with my buddy Tom Willis. I'll see you then. Thank you. Bye. You have been listening to Community Conversations with Tanoa Lynn Poirier. It is my honor to host this program, and I appreciate you listening. We have an exciting show planned for you next week, so mark your calendars and join me every Friday at 5 p.m. on WNN 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. We look forward to hearing from you, our listeners. It's all about learning, sharing, and teaching. We're all in this together. Until next time, be a blessing to someone and endeavor to persevere.